Hi, welcome to What's the Word? I'm your host, Jaime McFaden, and I'm so excited to have you here. This podcast is about all things wellness. Each week, we will focus on a word of the day, and I interview some of the most inspirational people I know and share that inspiration with you. Join me, let's learn together on What's the Word?
This is the place where I belong.
Hi, and welcome to What's the Word? I'm your host, Jaime McFaden, and this podcast is about all things wellness. Each week, we focus on a word of the day, and I interview some of the most inspirational people I know and share that inspiration with you. Today, our word is inclusion, which means by definition, the action or state of including or being included within a group or structure. And I am so excited to have Kaitlyn Pennington here, who I will be interviewing, who's the founder of Inclusion Health, which is a yoga and fitness fusion company committed to bringing wellness to people of all backgrounds. I also have had the opportunity of working with her many years ago as a flight attendant for Virgin Airlines, and she is so beyond incredible in so many ways. Kaitlyn, I'm so honored to have you here today. Thank you so much for joining us on What's the Word? How are you?
Thank you, Jaime. It is so fun to connect with you. Like you said, we have been connected for a long time, but I have missed seeing your beautiful face and just can't wait for this conversation.
Yay! Well, the feeling is mutual, and thanks again for being here. So let's just dive in to what's the word. And the word you chose, obviously, it's a word that it's part of your brand, your business, everything that you do. And so talk a little bit about inclusion and what it means to you.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I decided to branch out after many years of working in gyms and yoga studios and fitness studios of all different kinds, I wanted to branch out and extend what I had learned and what I had benefited from the yoga and wellness community and fitness community in general. I just felt like I wanted to extend that to all reaches of the earth, essentially. And when I was first trying to come up with the name and the title of my company, I just kept saying, I just want everyone to feel like they're invited. I want them to feel like they're included. I want them to feel like they're welcomed. And in a conversation, it just kind of evolved where I was like, inclusion, of course, that's what the name is. And it's really interesting. So the 3 years since I started Inclusion Health, obviously the word has become very, very evident in our culture and very, very important in our culture with all that's going on in the world. And I think that alongside of that, I just feel very lucky that I kind of discovered the word and the meaning behind it about 3 years ago. And then it has transitioned so beautifully into all that I love to do in the wellness and fitness world. And like I said, everyone is wanting to be included. Everyone should be included these days. And inclusion is really the place for that.
I love that so much, and I couldn't agree with you more. I always say everyone has a seat at my table, so I agree with you on that. And so, let's talk a little bit about your background. I'd love for you to share with our listeners a little bit of your story in terms of your own self-care and the word inclusion, just in general, how that's been a word that's resonated with you even before 3 years ago. Like, just share a little bit about your journey into your own wellness.
Yeah, I would love to. So I would say that the second fold of inclusion and the meaning behind that is I am a very, very firm believer and have been for many, many years, probably as long as I can remember, that health is all inclusive. It's mind, body, and spirit. And I've seen firsthand, both in my own life, in my family, my friends, and then as I went into being a fitness professional, in my clients, that if one part of your life is off balance or off kilter, the others will suffer. And so, you can't just work out 7 days a week and be skinny mini or, have all the muscles if your mind's not right and your spirit's not right. And so, and also the beautiful thing is when you take care of your mind, when you do things like, I make sure that meditation is part of my practice. I make sure that getting out in nature is part of my practice, laughter, spending time with really like loved ones. I mean, that can take so many forms and fashions to take care of your mind and spirit. it. But oftentimes when we do take care of those things, our bodies follow and they feel healthier and they feel stronger and they're more capable. Working out and being healthy and fit no longer feels so much like a chore, but more as just another part of taking care of yourself.
I love how you just said that, because I actually just today was sharing with someone. I said, defining your why. Why do you want to, what does that mean to you? So you just defined, I think, your why pretty clearly. And now, have you always, I know you used to do gymnastics, because I remember asking you to teach me to tumble someday, which I'm still going to ring your door and say, can you teach me to tumble? Am I still of age to tumble, by the way?
Absolutely can. Sophia might want to join us as well. So we can get you both in a little tumbling class. I'm happy to do that. So I grew up when I was really young, starting as young as 3 years old, doing gymnastics, and ended up a state-ranked gymnast by the time I was 9 or 10. And in the midst of that also, had every injury under the sun, as most gymnasts do, and learned a lot about, taking care of your body so that it can work in the most optimal shape. And then a few things changed for me. And I know that you and I have related on this before, but when I was 10 years old, my father passed away from cancer, and my family went through a move to a different part of the country, to Missouri, that was very, very different. And I did transition into doing dance at that point. So I still had that physical outlet. But I think I grew up really quickly in that regard, where first of all, I learned firsthand that your life is not guaranteed, and that you might as well take care of your body and take care of your mind and every part of your health as much as possible, because you don't want to look back one day and not have your health. And if you can do anything to keep your health, then you should. And I was given that gift at 10 years old to learn that really, really big lesson, and it has stuck with me to this day. And then as I went through high school and college, and maybe through some of the grieving process, fitness and moving my body was always my therapy. It was always my outlet. And then as I became an adult, I really, really reflected on that and wanted to share it with other people. And so that's what led me to being a fitness instructor, a yoga instructor, and eventually the founder of Inclusion, because I truly do feel that, yeah, you can work out all the time, but it's only one piece of the puzzle. And it can move you through emotions. It can move you through stress, anxiety, just anything. As long as you start moving your body, the rest, like I said, really follows.
Wow. Well, I mean, I'm sending you my love always, and I hope you know that. But I just want to say to anyone that's listening or watching this right now, all of us will go through tough times at one point or another in our lifetime. And you just touched on something so profound, yet something that you would think we would all consider more, is that our health is not guaranteed. And there are so many things that maybe we can do, yet there are still so many things out of our control. So for anyone that's listening right now, is there any tips that you would offer to them, having your background, your experience, and what you do currently, if they're looking to make some small incremental changes or get started?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's really the premise of Inclusion Health to begin with, and my classes, is that I want them to be attainable and inviting to really any level. So I always say that if you come to my class, or obviously most of my classes and my events are virtual at this point. So coming to class means, turning on your phone or computer. But either way, I will give you the same high five and be just as proud of you if you lay on your mat in Shavasana, which means just laying on the ground, or if you're doing all the push-ups and all the squats and all of the handstands and all of the, extensive. You don't have to be. And sometimes the most experienced person in fitness needs those days that they just lay on their mat and be quiet. And that's what their mind and body and soul needs. So it really doesn't matter whether you're a beginner or you're intermediate, you're super advanced. It's all about listening to what your body needs. And if you are just starting off, trust the fact that all you have to do is make one start. Turn on one class, attend one class, go on one walk, take one jog, halfway around the block, whatever it is for you to get started. And then just realize that you did that. that you can do more if your body and your soul and your mind is craving it. And if it's not, then stick with that for a moment and just allow yourself to be really proud of the work that you do. So I just think that there is no like optimal goal, because we all need to step back, step forward, step back, step forward, depending on what our mind and body and soul needs that day, that time, that
Wow.
hour, so for if
I
you're just
love
starting
that.
off, just start somewhere, just join and feel like you are welcomed. Definitely.
I love that. And so now, that is something too that I see with especially something like yoga. If someone's never taken it before, they might be intimidated, or there might be a stigma in their mind of, oh, well, I don't know if I can do the moves, or I don't know the stuff. So Inclusion Health, you welcome everyone and anyone, whether they've ever tried it or not. That's beautiful. Because I know it can be, somewhat intimidating. And then also to the same point, and you're an athlete and, I'm fairly athletic, is sometimes recognizing and listening to our bodies when we need a pause,
Yeah.
when we need, like you said, lay in Shavasana. I'm like, I'm there. Let's do it.
Yeah. And
So,
that's what's
yeah.
so great is once you experience both ends of things. So if you consider you're somebody that isn't that athletic or haven't really done it before, then that first time that you hold tree pose, then you balance on one foot, the excitement and the pride that you get to have in trying something new. And then I think a lot of us that are more prone to push ourselves to the limit, I feel that same kind of pride when I take a bubble bath and drink some turmeric tea and say, you know what, I'm calming down and settling down, and this is just important to my health as all the high impact or all the fast forward type of stuff. And it's really about finding that balance.
I love that you tapped into that, because I created this podcast as a way to help encourage anyone listening, anyone that follows along on my journey, about self-care. And self-care isn't just, as I love bubble baths, I love massages, but sometimes it's getting your finances in order. Sometimes it's leaving an unhealthy relationship. Sometimes it's taking your dog for a walk. Sometimes it's organizing that closet that you've put off for years. And so when it comes to inclusion and the connection of inclusion to one's own self-care, are there any other tips that you would suggest to anyone that's listening right now? You've offered so much already, but for someone that says, you know what, I want to get better at my self-care, how can I utilize what Kaitlyn's saying with inclusion? Is there something that you could tell our listeners?
Yeah, absolutely. So I love that you could have just taken the words out of my mouth, honestly, because I think that the word inclusion and why it has so much meaning and why I decided to literally call my company that and stick with it is because that piece that it is all inclusive. So I find that so when we do have events, I bring in expertise of other areas. So maybe it is a finance expertise, maybe it's a mental health expertise, maybe it's somebody that has a relationship coach of some sort, because that's totally it. We have these multidimensional lives. And so I would suggest for anyone to kind of zoom out a little bit and look at your life as a whole. And maybe you're concentrated so much on the number on a scale or the number on your pant size or something, which is like the silliest part to focus on in health, but that's what our society has told us to focus on for so long. But instead, maybe you're holding on to some baggage that has to do with your finances or with an unhealthy relationship, or maybe something that is something traumatic that you went through when you were younger that you haven't quite addressed. I mean, it can be a million, or it can just be like a messy household or too busy of a schedule. I mean, this can take so many different things, but I think each one of us, if we kind of just like take a breath and look at the bigger pictures of our lives and realize that it is all tied together. So if there's things that you're trying to shove out of the way, well, guess what? It's connected to your health completely and totally. So maybe just take that on like head on, even if it's a bit challenging. Get that closet organized, figure out your finances a little bit, have that tough conversation with a loved one, whatever it might be. And you'll notice that that will clear some space for you to be healthier and to be, feel more well all the way around in your mind, in your body, in your spirit, and just like in your relationships, how you turn up in your life, if you're a parent, etc. A lot of times those things are blocking that, and we don't realize it until we really have to face it on head on.
Totally. And so now you just tapped into something that just was like ring, ring, ring in my mind is that some of the greatest moments in my life where I actually was forced to look in the mirror and say, okay, this is where I need to actually focus more energy on, was usually when I was going through a tough time. So whether it was the loss of my father, a relationship loss, a job loss, whatever it may have been. And so for anyone that's out there listening right now, have you ever experienced that as well in your life where, maybe you've gone through a tough or a messy situation and then you realize this is maybe a blessing?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, honestly, as you were saying that, I was getting chills down my arms because I can relate in just to the nth degree. And I do think that that is the beauty. So I would say a few different things. When I reflect on some of the biggest breakups in my life, that has really been the launching pad. And although that can be really heartbreaking and be very difficult to navigate through or to see the light at the end of the tunnel, when your heart is broken or your plans are changed, I think that that's when I also have had the opportunity and this beautiful gift to spend some time on self-reflection or some time alone, which is so beautiful when you realize, what do I want out of life? What do I, it gives you that gift of being selfish in like a beautiful way of like, what do I want out of life? What's my perspective on things? What are my goals, rather than a we. And that also, I think, that kind of gift comes from if you move somewhere brand new, or if you do have a loss of a loved one, any of those times that you're kind of pushed into this new area of independence that sometimes is really hard, but it's a really big gift of a growing pain. And I find that myself and anyone I see around comes out on the other side just stronger and more beautiful, and like in this place that they have discovered a new area of their lives. And that definitely it's been like the best gifts for me, is going through those hard times and then getting on the other side and being like, oh, cool, I learned a lot through that.
I love that you just said that, because it is true. And I think that sometimes we can be hard on ourselves, pushing the pressure of, oh, well, I should be, or I thought this was, or I planned it this way, or whatever else. And so I think it's a good reminder for anyone that's listening today, and that we're talking about inclusion and the reality that it's not always going to be this picture that we're envisioning. At the same time, I want to ask you, because I know I have my techniques. What do you do in those moments when you're feeling stuck? Like, is there anything that helps you, because I mean, do you get those moments too? I know I do. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm just not in the mood, or, yeah. So what helps you?
So I've found, and I think this has come with me growing and maturing a little bit, is not forcing things and really tapping into like what feels good right now. So instead of, I mean, there's always going to be things in our lives, paying bills and things like that, that like we have to do because we have to do them. But
I wish it felt good. I mean, I guess it does though, right? Yeah, it does.
But what I have found is like, okay, if I'm not feeling like a yoga day, because I'm like, I don't want to get on my mat, or I don't want to be inside or whatever. I'm like, okay, what do I feel like? Okay, I feel like a walk today, or I feel like a run or a hike or something. And okay, maybe I feel like being by myself today, or maybe I don't. Maybe I need to call a friend. And I think that that is really important, that oftentimes we get stuck in like what we are supposed to be doing, or what we should have been doing, or what, I don't know, someone else has told us we're supposed to do, or whatever's on our schedule. And we forget that, and that takes the fun and the joy out of things. And then it makes everything a task and a chore. So I would say, in terms of any time that I feel kind of stuck, I just try to pivot. So instead of just like banging my head against a wall that's not working, I'm like, all right, well, I'll come back to you in a minute, but clearly this is not working for me right now. And I try to just take a right or left turn into a different direction. So maybe that's, I'm working on a task for work and I just feel like I'm not getting anywhere. So then I take a breather from it and I work on something else and I come back to it. Or like I said, if it's a workout and I'm not feeling like that planned workout that day, then do something else to move your body, so that you don't program your mind into being like, this isn't fun, I hate this, I don't want to do this. Just think, I'm going to take a moment from this I'll come back to it when I'm ready. And you usually are ready at another moment, as long as it's just not procrastinating forever. But yeah,
Absolutely.
just having some grace for yourself that sometimes you need to pivot a little bit.
Pivot. I feel like that's been a big word in the last year or so. It's a lot of pivoting everywhere. And I think that many of us are getting pretty good at that pivot, but I think that that also can be utilized in just everyday life. If, like you said, you're not in the mood for something, or you're feeling stuck, or whether it be writer's block, or just not wanting to get that workout in. I think and you brought this up earlier, and it's a tip I say as well, is just a small thing. Go outside, change your environment, call a friend, be alone, like whatever it is that you need. And I think that goes back to the awareness, right? The awareness is key. So for anyone that's, starting out on their wellness journey or coming out of a tough situation, is there any insight you would give someone to tapping into their own awareness so that they can bring all these elements of inclusion into their life?
Absolutely. So I would say, with that said, like, I think I always use the metaphor for really anything wellness related, fitness related, health related. It's like trying different foods or different restaurants, right? So if you tried one restaurant and you didn't like their food, you wouldn't like never eat again, right? Or even a specific type of food, okay, like if you tried Greek food at one place and then you're like, it wasn't your favorite, you probably wouldn't like never eat Greek food again, right?
Right.
So So with that said, I definitely give that gift to other people of like, try your different food, try the whole buffet, right? So if it's a yoga specifically, right? There's certain people that have maybe tried one type of yoga and it hasn't really felt good for them and it hasn't felt like their cup of tea. That's fine. There's so many others. So try different instructors, try different classes. I specifically have incorporated that into inclusion health because of the premise of inclusion. I try to switch up my classes. I try to switch up my techniques. I have multiple different types of classes that I think would be more inviting for certain different people. Because the thing is I have heard so many people in the past say, I'm intimidated to try a gym. I'm intimidated to try to work out. I'm intimidated to try a yoga, or I tried that one time and I didn't like it and I never came back. So I would just say, like, for anyone that is feeling a little bit like lost or discouraged or anything, whether that be something personally you're going through, or maybe something's put a bad taste in your mouth, just know that try something different, try something new, and know that all of us, I have definitely been to fitness classes and yoga studios and stuff that were like, this one's not for me.
Right.
But that doesn't matter, and then I've just said, okay, but it must be for somebody else, and that's okay. And so I'm going to move on to something that does feel good. So if you're not feeling welcomed, if you're not feeling included, if you're not feeling like you're enjoying yourself, then go somewhere else or do something else. That's okay. And it could be for the day or it could be forever. It doesn't matter. But, don't let just one experience completely change how you approach an entire part of your wellness or wellness in general.
I love that. And yes, I couldn't agree with you more on that. Thank you so much for that insight. And now, with your company, Inclusion Health, I want to help support what you're doing. I love what you're doing. I know we were going to team up on an event. I think it was last year or whenever the chaos was going on, but I can't wait to team up with you. However, I want to know, and for anyone that's listening, how can we best support what you're doing? Like, what is your goal this year and how can we support that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, always spreading the word is the best because I consider Inclusion Health a community. This isn't something that I'm just giving on a one-way street. I love working with other people. I love collaborating with other people. I consider it a community 100%. And I have had just beautiful things given back to me, as well as hopefully I'm able to give to others. So I would say that if you have any ideas, if you have any idea for collaboration, if you have a friend or a colleague or a family member that you think would be good to partner with, please reach out to me. I'm literally open to a lot of different areas and just love hearing other people's ideas. So I would say that. And then on our website, we have our videos and our events that are both public and private, and just checking those out and kind of finding what maybe is a fit for you. And again, if you have an idea of something that you'd like to partner or collaborate with, I would love to hear from you.
Love that. Okay, good. And we'll be sure to share your website and all of your goodies with the podcast. And then lastly, I'm just curious, aside from business, do you have any personal goals that you're excited about this year? Anything that you're looking forward to for yourself?
Yeah, so some pretty big things are rolling out. I would just say that I love this new turning point where we all got the rug like swept out from underneath us last year in 2020, and just a little bit. The whole entire world did, just a tiny bit. And just seeing this energy of regrowth and renew, and I feel it so internally within myself because of going through a lot of personal changes last year, a lot of personal downfalls, as well as everything that was going on globally and in our country and so on and so forth, where we all felt all of the change. I think that what I'm really excited about this year is taking all that we learned. And what is beautiful is it was like we used to all think that things had to be done one certain way. And then through 2020, we had to do things completely different in this kind of weird way. And then now in this kind of new normal, that term is so overused at this point, but it is really true that we're learning to fuse those two things together. So how do we maybe still, I love the fact that now people are more used to doing things virtually, where before I had to get on a plane and fly to Florida to do an in-person event with another company that wanted to collaborate in Florida, which is great and wonderful. And I'm happy to do that. However, now it's not so strange to partner and do something with somebody in Florida and do it virtually. So I would say that I'm excited about this new almost like futuristic fusion that we're all living in, that really brings the whole world to our fingertips and connects people from all over the place in a really new and unique way. And hopefully we still have a chance to do things in person before too long, because I do think face-to-face interaction is very important when it's safe to do so. But
it's happening. I can feel it. It's happening, and I can't wait to do something with you. So with that all being said, at the end, I like to do a little speed round. So this is just tapping into your subconscious mind. First thing that comes to mind, just blurt it out. Pizza or tacos?
Pizza.
Go-to karaoke song?
Gangster's Paradise.
I love it. Favorite exercise?
Yoga.
Least favorite exercise?
Like really heavy weights.
If you could travel anywhere right now, where would you go?
Oh my goodness. Tahiti.
Ooh. And if you could have any superpower, what would it be?
Teleportation, or be able to teleport. I don't know if teleportation is the right word, but to be able to teleport, it would save me so much time, and I would get to see the world so quickly.
I love it. And is there anything that you are afraid of?
Clowns. Like very scared of clowns.
So we will not be having a clown at your birthday.
I'm so sorry, but I mean, if you are a clown and you want to come to inclusion, I will get over my fear. I promise we will have a conversation and I will get over my fear. You are also included at inclusion.
There we go. At inclusion, you will face your fears of clowns. Perfect.
So
with well, I love it. Perfect. A clown yoga. Okay, clown yoga. Here we go. So with all that being said, Caitlyn, I'm so thankful to have you here today. To everyone that's listened, Caitlyn has shared so many beautiful insights about the word inclusion, how to practice better self-care, utilizing that word, to remind ourselves, to give ourselves that grace, to listen to our body, our mind, and our spirit, and tap into the things that make us feel good. So with that all being said, I can't wait to hopefully see you and squeeze you one of these days. But until then, I will be sure to check out your website. What's the best place to find you?
I would say
What's the
probably
website?
Instagram as of right now.
Okay.
It's Inclusion Health on Instagram. I also inclusionhealth.org is our website, and inclusionhealth@gmail. It's all pretty straightforward in terms of email and our website. But I love Instagram as a way to connect with my community, because I like to see what you're doing and how you're working out. And I like to see your kids and your dogs and your walks and everything and what you're cooking. So I just think Instagram is a fun way to have a two-way street and to know everything that you're doing, as well as keeping on track with the classes and offerings that we provide as well.
Awesome. Oh, well, thank you, thank you, thank you. I hope that you have a beautiful rest of the day, and sending all my love your way. Thank you so much, girl.
Thank you so much, Jamie. It was so wonderful to see you. And thank you all for listening and watching. It was great to see you.
Yay! Well, that's it for our episode of What's the Word. Thank you all so much, and we'll see you next time. Thank you for joining me here at What's the Word. Follow us on social media with the links on the screen, and don't forget to like and share with your friend. Your support helps us grow and continue to make inspirational content. See you next time on What's the Word.